Sorry, folks. Yeah, we're gonna have two of these, unfortunately. We're gonna have two links, so we're gonna have to look at the two link version of this. Sorry about that. But yeah, so we were just talking about this. I have to remember to at 10 minutes in, I got to remember to I have to have my phone going off or something. But 10 minutes in, I have to check the 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 the, the level there. Anyway, so using Schedule A to figure your itemized deductions, in most cases, your federal income tax will be less if you take the larger of your itemized deductions or your standard deductions. If you so again, it's saying what we just said in the notes, right? If you itemize, you can deduct a part of your medical and dental expenses and amounts paid for certain taxes, interest, contributions, and other expenses. You can also deduct certain casualty and theft losses. If you and your spouse paid expenses jointly or filing separate returns, there's another publication that you want to reference. But yeah, so all these instructions are here, and this is basically what this document tells you. Okay, these instructions are for Schedule A, and it explains, what's going on. Okay, is really what that is. 1 second. So, okay, and yeah, we have this 7.5% computation here. We're going to get to that. Okay, what's new? Personal protective equipment, standard mileage rates, and then it goes through medical and dental expenses. But you can deduct, but you can't deduct. What line 1 is for, what line 5 is for, charitable contributions, state and local income taxes. Okay. Taxes you can't deduct, taxes you can deduct, state and local general sales taxes or whatever it might be. And then there's a little bit of a worksheet here and some examples. So this is like a textbook, these 18 pages. I'm going to start teaching out of this. Next time through, I'm probably going to start teaching state and local personal property taxes, other taxes, state and local real estate taxes, interest that you paid, and it just goes through mortgage insurance premiums, gifts to charities, and it just goes on and on and on. Amounts you can deduct, amounts you can't deduct, gifts by cash or check, other than by cash or check, qualified contributions, casualty and theft losses, total itemized deductions, other itemized deductions, and then these are some sales tax tables or something like that. Yeah, so I guess that's not every state. I don't think New Jersey is in here, right? Oh, it is. Okay. Actually, New Jersey has a higher one than New York does at this point. At one time, that wasn't so, but it might be so now. So. Okay, so yeah, so based on the AGI, what your deductions and credits are will be determined, and then you can make your computations based on that. This example right here, this is in Excel, and we're going to get to that. But let me just get through the lecture and not get clicked off again, like we just did. Is that, let's say you had some significant dental expenses during the year that weren't reimbursed by insurance, and you've decided to itemize your deductions. You're allowed to deduct a portion of those expenses that exceeds 7.5% of your AGI. So whatever your AGI is, if your expenses go, let's say it's 100,000, if your expenses go past 7,500, then you can deduct. So if it's 10,000, you subtract it from 7,500, or subtract it from 7.5% of your AGI. As long as that's a positive number, you can deduct that difference. So if you report 12,000 on unreimbursed dental expenses and have an AGI of 100,000, you can deduct the amount that exceeds 7,500, which is 4,500, right? Because if you add 4,500 to 7,500, you get 12,000. However, if your AGI is 50,000 and you have a 7.5% reduction, which is just 3,750, you'd be entitled to an $8,250 deduction, right? Because if your 7.5 of 50,000 is, like they say, 3,750. And you have 12,000 in expenses, 12,000 minus 3,750 is 8,250. I just said that in words, but we're going to have that worked out in Excel. Adjusted gross income versus modified adjusted. Like I said, for our course, we're not going to really hit the modified one because it's complicated. In addition to AGI, some tax collections and government programs call for using what's known as your modified adjusted gross income. This figure starts with your AGI, then adds back certain items such as deductions you take for student loan interest or tuitions and fees. Your MAGI is used to determine how much, if anything, you can contribute to a Roth individual retirement account in a given year. It's also used to calculate your income if you apply for marketplace health insurance under the Affordable Care Act. Okay, many people with relatively uncomplicated financial lives find their AGI and MAGI are the same number, very close. If you file your tax electronically, the IRS will ask you for your previous year's AGI as a way of verifying your identity. Okay, and then there's some special considerations here. It says you report your AGI on line 11 of Form 1040, which is the form used to file your income taxes for the year. Keep the number handy after completing your taxes because you will need this again if you e-file your taxes. Okay, fine. That's for the e-filers. The IRS, or the person that does mine, does the e-file. So the IRS uses it as a way to verify your identity. Also note that as of January 22, almost anyone may use the IRS free file program to file their federal and in some cases state tax electronically at no charge. Okay, and let's see Form 1040. Where were we here? We're here. It's 1041. Yeah, that's the form, and yeah, we have we have the 1040 instructions, right? Somewhere. I think are these it? Oh, that's for Schedule A, the instructions, but the 1040 instructions are similar. So, and what did these guys say? This was line what? Line 11 is AGI. Line 11. Yeah, there's instructions for Schedule 1, 2, 3, all that. Okay. And here we could even search it. Okay, there's how many of these things? A couple. So for child tax credit, you need it. With 70 or less. Yeah, there's some software for you. Okay. Okay, there's only 11 of these. So something about a qualifying child. All right, you need adjusted gross income for that. This is estimated tax penalty. You need it for that. You need it for electronic filing. That you need it for. It says if your adjusted gross income is not more than $1 million, these amounts are non-taxable, and you should include the amount on box 3 of Form 1099. This is Olympic and para medals. Okay, well that's not for us. It's not going to be for any of us, I don't think. Student loan deduction, right? If your modified gross income is less than 85,000, if single, head of household or whatever, there's some impact on student loan interest deduction. And this adjusted gross is, I think, defined on page 30. I hope it's on page 30 somewhere. Yeah, and it's this. Did they say line 10? Line 11. Okay. So now it's line 10. Okay. Those are tax credits. And it says total income and adjusted. So, and it says, what? It says enter any adjustment to income from Schedule 1, line 26 on line 10. Right? You did that. So that's the line 10 instructions. And then tax credits are itemized deductions, standard deductions. That's all after that. Okay. Is this it? Enter if you live the par. That's the. I'm sorry. This is Social Security benefits worksheet, and this is the form. Yeah, there's adjustments to income, and yeah, there's line 11 is adjusted gross income. If you look at Form 1040, it says adjusted gross income, which is right there. Okay. All right. So yeah, so we verified the line that this is on, and now there's a couple questions here. It says, what does adjusted gross income mean for tax payments? What are some common adjustments when determining AGI? What is the difference between AGI and modified adjusted gross income? So, oops, there it is. Okay. So the first one says, what does adjusted mean for tax payments? Adjusted gross income is essentially your income for the year after accounting for all applicable tax deductions. Is an important number that used by the Internal Revenue Service to determine how much you owe in taxes. It's calculated by taking the gross income for the year and subtracting deductions you're eligible for, eligible to claim. Therefore, it will always be less than or equal to the gross income. Okay, you want to keep that in mind. Is what are some of the common adjustments used when determining AGI? There's a wide variety of adjustments that might be made when calculating AGI depending on the financial life and circumstances of the filer. Moreover, since tax laws can be changed by lawmakers, a list of available adjustments can change, from year to year. Some of those common adjustments used when calculating AGI include reductions for alimony and student loan interest. So that stuff's always being kicked around like a political football. And then you have the modified adjusted gross income, right, which is similar to adjusted gross income, except that the modified adjusted gross income adds back certain deductions. And for this reason, MAGI would always be larger than or equal to AGI. Common examples of deductions that are added back include foreign earned income, income earned on U.S. savings line, and losses arising from publicly traded partnerships. Okay, folks, I apologize for the split version of this lecture, but sometimes I don't hear the little blip that reminds that didn't exist a number of years ago, right? But somehow I think they're trying to narrow the band use of the internet and trying to say, hey, if you're not using it or there aren't people on or whatever, you're not verifying you're on there, it'll just sort of time out at like 10 minutes. I have to see if I can change that. Okay, let's go to our Excel example, and also just while we're discussing here, I had a little bit of a history. Where is it? Here's Excel history. So yeah, I spoke about this in class. I'm just going to it says a brief history of Microsoft Excel. And actually, I'm going to put that in here. Yeah. So, and again, I got a number of questions, and the end, and this is just written this year. The end of the article sort of validates what we're doing here. But I picked Excel for a reason. I think it's the most features and anything. And forgive me for saying this, and forgive me if you're a Google guy or girl or something, but free document software, free spreadsheets, anything free. There could be drawbacks or limitations to it. So you should have Microsoft Excel, and everything's certainly in banking and investment banking, everything is written using Excel and Microsoft Office, and that's you should work. That's how you should work. So the article looks at how Microsoft has evolved. So I'm dating myself a bit by discussing this, but what are you gonna do? But I was hardly cognizant of any of this at the time. So Bricklin was I guess a student who was asked to perform an analysis at a Harvard Business School in the late 70s, and he was given a couple options using the mainframe or sort of some other choice that he was going to develop, which I like. And he began to imagine, he began to imagine a classroom. This is in the 70s, folks. This is not, 2003 or something. This is in the 70s. He imagined a classroom with an electronic blackboard as well as electronic chalk. By the end of the fall, he had succeeded in programming the initial working prototype of VisiCalc. I remember VisiCalc. This application, and Rutgers had it, right? This application was able to manipulate matrices that consist of 20 rows, 5 columns. Now we're up to like a million, we're like millions of rows and millions of columns, but it was measured in 20s and 10s. VisiCalc was the premier electronic spreadsheet program that was released for the Apple II. The Apple II was in 78 and was considered to be an instant success. SuperCalc was launched by SourceSim. This was one of the first spreadsheet programs that could iteratively solve circular references. Iteration means you can repeat your mathematical computations sort of over and over again. A circular reference means you're referring back to a cell that's included in your computation. So you've got to be able to mathematically handle that. Okay, and that's but again, without going into the math, so a pretty, we'll say like this, a pretty good milestone was overcome at this point. 82 Multiplan was released by Microsoft, which was intended for computers that ran whatever that microprocessor is or operating system. A year later, Lotus took the basics of SuperCalc and added to them. So now we have Lotus 123 in the early 80s, introducing features such as graphing, charting, and basic database operations. I mean, there you go. I learned this stuff, and I learned this way past this. My high school, I wasn't in high school in 1982. It was much later. But I learned from the Jesuits. That's it. I learned and took it with me, and college was whatever. I did whatever I did. But the basics of calculus, the basics of physics, the basic computer science, I learned it, in high school, and that was that. So Microsoft was initially introduced in 85. Excel 1.0 was the first spreadsheet application that used a graphical interface and had a pull-down menu as well as a point-and-click technology of a mouse. The version was only available for Macintoshes. And then in 87, we saw the release of Excel 2.0, which was the Windows-friendly version. And then Excel 3.0 was 1990 as a part of the Microsoft Office suite that came with PowerPoints and Word. And these three applications offered support for dynamic data exchange, which provided them a way to utilize Windows services so the information between the programs could be exchanged in real time and interface with one another. Excel 3.0 had several new features, three-dimensional charts, outlining capabilities, add-in supports. I was interning at IBM in the 90s. The first widely popular version of Excel debuted in 1984 or 82. I'm sorry, 1992. Excel 4 was incorporated an array of new features called shortcuts, autofill. And then Excel 5 came out in 93. The version of the spreadsheet app introduced a Visual Basic, a VBA language where Excel users can create macros. And again, this was long ago, right? 30 years ago. Excel 5 could also support multiple worksheets. So, and it just grew and grew and grew. And then obviously the big Windows 95 operating system, I remember I was at Rutgers at the time. That was really just started like you guys at Rutgers at the time. Really just beginning there in order to provide users with improved stability, faster speed. It was rewritten to 32 bits. From then onward, Excel versions were each integrated into the Windows operating system. By this time, Excel had enough new features that it finally succeeded in beating out its main competitor, which struggled to adapt to the Windows environment. In 97, brought the release of Excel 8 and new tools like Paperclip Assist were offered for this version, as well as more effective Visual Basic programming environment. The next two Excel versions in 2000 to 2003 only had minor improvements. What is this? This is Visual Basic for applications is what this is. We should read this next. We should read this thing next. So, the 2003 had minor improvements. Excel 2007 provided substantial increases to the application's capacity, providing users with access to 1 million rows and 16,000 columns. In addition, this version moved the ribbon to make for cleaner interfaces. The ribbon was again improved in, I think mine is 2010. The version also includes pivot tables, one of Excel's core features to this day. Those looking to create complex data, Excel models, Excel could do so using Excel 13. 3 years later, another Excel update incorporated features such as capacity to use 3D maps to present data, as well as the forecast sheet function. All right, well, I'm always a big believer that you're as good as your math lets you be. That letting Excel do too much, right, is too much of the thinking. You should do the thinking, not Excel telling you. You need to tell Excel what to do. I think we do that in class. The last time Microsoft Excel was updated was 2019, and this time maps, charts, funnel charts, keyboard shortcuts, improved calculation functions were added to the spreadsheet application. And today we have the release of Excel 365 and Excel 2019, which continue to provide one of the most popular flexible business applications across the globe. When used in concert with other apps such as PowerPoint and Word and Outlook, Excel can adapt to nearly any business process. In 2022, Excel continues to provide users with core features such as the ability to efficiently analyze and model data, create charts, quickly identify key data points. In addition to the application, now offers cutting-edge customization options as well as the capability to use Visual Basic for applications to automate various operations. I know I said that, in sort of without taking a breath, but there you go. That's why we use Excel. Okay. And visual, basically you're doing Visual Basic sort of without the bells and whistles of it, but you're basically working at the logic of it, which is the most important thing. So in the time since Excel 1.0 was released in 85, the application has transformed from a basic spreadsheet tool into a complex business intelligence and data analytics tool with impressive assortment of features and functions and tools to help better manage data. That's what Excel is for. Okay. Like I said, I have to turn this into a little like a printout for you. I have to incorporate this into Word. And actually, what I'll do, copy, paste. We'll get back to it in a second. Yeah, I'm going to put this someplace. You guys are seeing how I do my research, right? This is, we find stuff, find good stuff, good written stuff on the internet, and sort of go from there. Yeah, I might even want to brief a case with you guys at some point. Let's see how we're going to do with that. Tax bracket. Exemptions. Okay, so this, we took care of this. So I grade them out so it reminds me where I am. So the next one will not be head of household, will be personal exemptions. Okay. But yeah. So there you go. So yeah, Visual Basic is a programming language that's used to create macros in Microsoft Excel. This language is built into Excel and allows you to write commands and functions in spreadsheets. It also can be used in other Microsoft Office applications such as Outlook and Word. In order to understand VBA, it's important to also explore what a macro is. An Excel macro is a set of Excel actions or instructions that are used to manipulate data. Macros make it possible to automate repetitive Excel tasks that would otherwise have to be completed manually. When macros are recorded, they are stored as VBA code, and once they can be viewed and edited with the help of VBA editor. Macros can be used to automate both simple tasks such as converting formulas to values in a spreadsheet, as well as more complicated tasks like uploading data to a web page. VBA provides Excel users with a way to program macros so the task can be accomplished simply by clicking a button. The more familiar user becomes with Excel, the more notice the vast number of tools that this application offers. However, not all of them are helpful for completing daily tasks, such as repetitive instructions or creating custom functions. In order to fill the gap, Microsoft provides VBA so that users can have the power to write their own commands to carry out these tasks. Like I said, you guys, that's something you guys can take a look at on your own. There's some classes in Excel. I'm saying beyond mine. There's actual classes in the world. Okay. And again, what are you doing? You're analyzing and reporting on data. That's what you're doing with Excel. We're doing that in Excel. If it's economics, if it's accounting data, financial markets, whatever it might be, the S&P 500 or something like that. So that's what we're doing. So yeah, now there's live courses, whatever, somewhere in New York City, I guess, whatever Noble Desktop is, I guess they offer Microsoft Excel courses. There's some prices here. So, if there's, I think they have it here. There's 280 in-person Microsoft Excel classes. So that's something else. That's something else. Learn the skills guarantee, whatever. I don't know how long this is, but there's online or going into New York City or something. Intermediate Excel for business, VLOOKUP. But you can get some experience with a lot of this stuff. But there's a lot of courses here, right? There's a lot of stuff here, and okay, Case Western Reserve has a boot camp that's $11,000, right? 24-week data analytical beginning level boot camp, and this is for the whole business intelligence community. But this is good stuff. Okay, this is really good stuff. This course is available for people who are new to Excel and for people who work with it all the time, or people want to brush up on the skills in person, live, online. Okay, there's a variety of course options, a couple days to a couple weeks. The course can go to a couple hundred to $1,000, and then even more, 24-week courses or whatever, $100 to almost $10,000. Okay, so if there's 280 courses and they cost thousands of dollars, I would say this is a pretty in demand, good thing to learn. Okay, so folks, please, spend a little bit of time on this and get your hands around it. Okay. Okay, so our last thing of the day is we have this the Excel stuff, which is next, and we're going to hit that. So we're here. So yeah, this was the example. So yeah, you have this sort of the skeleton of this. So what this basically says is you had some significant dental work, which if anybody had root canal or crowns or implants or something, that could be thousands. That could easily be 10,000. If you have a couple implants, and 2 implants could be 10,000, right? So it says you had some significant dental expenses that you and wasn't reimbursed by insurance, and you've decided to itemize the deductions. Okay, and as we just previously read, you're allowed to itemize 7.5% of your adjusted gross income. I think we looked at some of the instructions somewhere, and it said that. Let's go back and just knock that out and just take a look at that. That's the sheet or whatever. That's this thing. These are instructions. I think we looked at all the adjusted gross numbers here, right? Or something like that. Yeah. Okay. And that 7.5 was somewhere. Oh, this is 1041. Yeah. That's 1041, 1040. The instructions for 1040. It was somewhere. If you look back in that video, somewhere we found that 7.5% something, right? I think we found that someplace. Student loan. This is the total. That's estimated tax penalty. Here, let's do it like this. Refund. Oh, there's only one of those here. So what was that? 502, 502, 502, IRS 502, which is right there. And if you have to spell it right, adjusted. There it is. Okay. Yeah, it says you can deduct on Schedule A only part of your medical and dental expenses that is more than 7.5% of your adjusted gross income. Okay, so it says it right here. All right, and that's in publication 502. Okay, and what does 502 tell us, or what is 502? Okay, it says this publication explains the itemized deductions for medical and dental expenses that you can claim on Schedule A, discusses what expenses and whose expenses you can and can't include in figuring the deduction, explains how to treat reimbursements, how to figure the deductions, also tells you how to report the deduction on your tax return, and what to do if you sell medical property or receive damages for personal injury. Medical expenses include dental expenses, and in this publication, the term medical is often referred to medical and dental. Okay, so and on and on and on. So all the details are right there. So that would be publication 502, medical and dental expenses, says what we're going to work on right now in Excel. Okay, it says that. So wait, so if you have 12,000 in unreimbursed medical and dental, and let's type that in. So here's your unreimbursed expenses, 12,000, which is right there. And it says you earn, well, there's 2 versions of this. You can earn $100,000, and then we're going to study this for 50,000. So your adjusted gross income is 100,000, right? Is your adjusted gross income. So, and again, looking at this, I used notice this. Notice, keep your eye here when I plug in some numbers here. See how I typed in something here and it changed there, right? I'll do it again. 10. When I hit return, Look here. See, it brought it here. So what happens is we use the concatenation function. See what says concatenate text? It refers to this 10%. You got to put a little formatting in and a little bit of text in here. But this, if you look at the syntax of this, this text is written as a percentage, and then a comma and quotes space of adjusted gross income, and it'll change as you change this percentage. What's down here is going to change. Okay. So let's make that computation. What's 7.5% of my adjusted? So 7,500. So if I have 12,000, okay, I have to cover the first 7,500, but the deduction is the amount that exceeds that 75, which is about 4,500. See, we did the math, we subtracted, equals. Okay, that's it. All right. And then we could do this again for 50,000. That's for 50. I'm sorry, 50,000. Same expenses, right? The same set of expenses. And what you can do here, if you want to copy and paste a bit, you can lock the row. Okay. And with this, and you can, you can just, like, to be really fussy, lock the column, and then you can just say this. You can say copy, drop it into 7.5%, and there you go. All right, there's your 7.5% of the 50,000 is 3,500, and this, this needed to lock this row. We'll do it again. Copy, paste. There it is. 8,250, 8,250. So if you make less, 7.5% of your adjusted gross income is a lower number, and you have 12,000 medical expenses, you can do that deduction. Subtract the difference, and you're deducting 8,250 from that. Okay. Well, that's it. Okay, that's today. Today hopefully wasn't too long. So the formulas here. This is 7.5% times the 100,000. I locked the row here, so as I copy and paste, this doesn't move. I locked the column here because I want this to move to the 50,000 eventually, and this is just simply the 12,000 at line 79 minus the 7.5% of adjusted gross income. Okay, I showed you guys the concatenation formula. It's a way to, it inserts data within text string in Excel, and formatting the numbers in an Excel text string is basically what it is. I was able to copy and paste these two formulas here, and then got the same numbers. Okay. All right, folks. Like I said, please take advantage of we have a couple days until next week, so take advantage and work on your assignments and watch videos, and we'll see you soon. Okay. All right, folks. We'll see you soon.